The days to opening day are ticking off the calendar quickly, and everyone wants to get there healthy. And health is a storyline that will unfortunately follow Cleveland all year as they try to improve their offense. That's coming up today on Locked On Guardians.
Tanner Bagger, the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, Guardians fans, to today's episode of Locked On Guardians. It's our favorite half hour of the day, and we hope it is yours too, because for the next half hour, we get to talk with you about your Cleveland Guardians, the only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast covering your team every day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. And if you're new here, I'm Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts, have been for the last 4 years, and I've also spent 19 years covering the Guardians farm system as a prospect writer and editor.
And I'm your other co-host, Jeff Ellis. I've been here since Locked On expanded into baseball many a year ago. Before that, I was national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts, as well as a big shout out to our insiders, our everydayers, to our commenters, to anyone who helps our show grow.
Lots to talk about from the baseball world over the weekend in Guardians land and the World Baseball Classic, Jeff's favorite topic. The Spring Breakout game is this week, and on today's show, we'll discuss one of the prospects we got a glimpse of over the weekend and his unique situation in the show. Coming up a little bit, the World Baseball Classic has been epic. We'll talk about the Guardians representatives, had a big weekend. But first, we lead off today's show talking about health, and how we hope it's not a storyline for Cleveland all season, but it's unavoidable. Today's episode of Locked On Guardians, of course, brought to you by our friends at MLB The Show 26. Visit MLB.theshow/LockedOn. Use code LOCKEDON. It's going to get you a pack in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now. Available on March 17th. That's this week on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, and MLB The Show is rated E for everyone. Everybody wants to get the spring training health. It's not like, a unique thing to the Guardians, obviously. That's everybody at this point, especially with the World Baseball Classic. That's an even bigger storyline. But I really hope, for Cleveland's sake, this is not something we're talking about all year. I fear we may be, though. So Jose left Sunday's contest with shoulder inflammation because he jammed it while trying to steal a base. And obviously that's the one injury this team can't have. Out of all the injuries they could have, that's the one they can't have. Valera is dealing with a calf issue. He's been out for a month. Yeah, he's been out for a week now. Chase DeLauter thought he was going to dive for a ball on Saturday in right field, and I wish the Guardians would say, "Don't dive, never dive for a ball in the outfield, please." I saw someone in our Discord and every day. So that was oh crap, they told me not to dive because he forgot. He remembered they told him that midway through the dive, and it was very awkward. And I was like, oh God, no. And there's always Kwan. Kwan always gets worn down, and he's had, wrist issues and hamstring issues, back issues. And then there's Gaddis, who, we're 12, 13 days away from opening day. He hasn't thrown a game yet. He's only throwing bullpens, and he feels good, which is great, but I just don't see him building back up in time to be ready for opening day. And Jeff, the problem is, this lineup is not going to take a step forward this year if you don't have DeLauter in it, if you don't have Valera in it to a lesser extent, if Jose's not healthy, if Kwan can't get through a whole year. And then, Pisano doesn't have a long injury history, but obviously it slowed him last year. I don't want to go through this entire season and say, well, if they're healthy, they're going to be okay. And I just don't want to get to May or June and say well, they just need to get healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those situations when you look at this team. The Jose thing is, I was saying to you off air, I'm like, I know you can't tell Jose to cool it a bit, but it's you don't need to steal third in a spring training game. This is not the environment where he needs to be out there trying to steal third base in spring training. But with the rest of that grouping, and I'll just throw in starting pitching in general. We know one of these starting pitchers is going to get hurt. That's baseball. It's just a pitcher is going to miss extended time because it happens to every single team every single year. So when you're looking at the organization and what they need to be successful, their biggest improvements were always going to be potentially internally because of the ceilings on guys like DeLauter and Bazana. And I mean, DeLauter in particular, it's just going to haunt us until it doesn't, right? Like it's a situation where I know someone in our comments is like, you're being too negative, but just like plain and simply, it's like, it's unavoidable. Like this is a guy who's never played 60 games in a season. I don't think he's ever played 60 games like in a calendar year of going back to college. It's years and years of issue. Like Valera, I think at least got to 100 games once. I think it was maybe one time in the minors it happened, but like with DeLauter in particular, it's a massive concern. And then Gaddis is such an important part of the pen that you can't help but be a little bit worried there as well, because you're counting on him. You're counting on the pen to be one of the strengths of this team, and to lose one of the players that you're counting on to be, part of the back end is difficult. And hopefully they'll be back sooner than later. But yeah, it's just looking at this team in general. I think we're going to spend a good chunk of this year, because of the players on the team, because of the situation, because of some of the depth concerns with that bullpen, just kind of like, in nervous mode. I think it's going to be a little bit impossible to not be nervous watching this team due to the injury history and due to, when you're a small market team, you just can't afford the depth of, say, the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. Like they do have depth, like Geis is posed. Like, obviously, DeLauter is the biggest piece here, right? If he can get, I don't even know if I could say 100 games, that might be being greedy. Like, is 80 games fair? I was thinking about like how it could work with him. Like, how do you, because like what we're seeing right now in spring training is like he plays the outfield, then he DHs, maybe he takes a day off, then he plays the outfield, then he DHs. Like, I think the plan in the regular season for DeLauter is like, okay, if you have a day game after a night game, right? He doesn't play the day game after a night game. Or if there's a tough lefty on the mound on the night game, with the day game following, you sit him against like Tarek Skubal on Wednesday night or Tuesday night, and you let him play DH, or you let him play the day game, right? Or if you have an off day on Monday or Thursday, you just don't play him on Sunday or Wednesday, get him 2 days off in a row, and then let him be good for the rest of the week. Like, you almost have to like build in on the calendar based on the matchups and based on the off days to try to like stack some of those days off. And that might be hard for him to like build momentum, but like, I'd rather build him into it and say we get to June and we're like, okay, DeLauter's been in the lineup every, like 4 or 5 days a week, every day until June. And if his body responds well, you can push it from there. Like, I think that's a great plan, the way to go. Like, I'm hoping that's the case, but yeah, like I don't want to get to May and say, all right, Kwan hit 400 in April again, and his back is hurting in June, and his wrist hurts, or, whatever it is. Like,
it's always the hammies.
Like I just don't want that. And I think Jose is going to be fine. Like, they're just saying it's day to day. It's probably not a big deal. And I mean, and to DeLauter's credit too, like last week when he was talking about the hamstring thing, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, he was saying like, if this is the regular season, I would have played, but there's no reason to do it in spring training. That's fine. You could say that. It's fine. But like with Jose, we know he's had a tendency to play through injuries in the past too. And that's also something, I mean, that's a darned if you do, darned if you don't, right? Because this team needs Jose in the lineup every day. But you also don't want him playing through injuries, which is something we've talked about, I don't know how many times in the past. But like behind those guys, like, okay, there's K-Fist. You could bring up Bazana at some point. Maybe Brito fits in at some point. You figure that out. Like, they have options. PD Halpin, maybe that's the thing. I don't know. Like, he had a home run off of Nick Pivetta on Saturday. That was pretty cool. Hit the crap out of it. Like, so there are options internally. Like, if guys get hurt, you're not looking to sign like Eddie Rosario off the street. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to worry about that. But the level of ceiling goes down with every tier you go down, and the guys that you need to be in the lineup every day are Jose, they're Kwan, they're DeLauter, and then from there.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest separators I've always said between being a team like the Yankees and the Dodgers is the money buys them proven depth. Yeah. Proven depth. Like, Cleveland has depth, but it's all unproven guys. We're hoping, maybe will be regulars eventually or have that ceiling. Like, Cleveland would have to bet on unproven versus proven, and that's where they are. And it's going to be a question that I think haunts this team all year. When you're relying on a lot of guys who have really struggled to stay healthy and live up to the wear and tear, and when your entire outfield at some point could conceivably be 3 dudes with long injury histories, like that just sets you up for a situation where your depth is going to get tested, and hopefully it's going to survive that testing.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about depth in a second. We'll also talk about the World Baseball Classic and some surprise Guardians performers in the tournament. That is next. I am never not excited to talk about MLB The Show, our sponsor for today's show. MLB The Show 26. I know a lot of baseball fans are going to have a hard time turning off the console to put this one away. I grew up playing MLB The Show with my friends, a lot of late nights, making trades, perfecting our lineups, talking trash, all kinds of fun. All the modes, franchise, road to the show, and I'm getting into Diamond Dynasty a lot now these days as well. If you're a gamer and a baseball fan and you want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in an exciting and new way, you're going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise. See if you have what it takes to win your own World Series. Visit MLB.theshow/LockedOn. Use code LockedOn to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Baseball, the way it should be, rated E for everyone. Chaos has no place in the workplace, but it happens. Your deadlines stack up, your inbox overflowing, and you have that one position you have to fill that is still sitting open. The pressure's on. You need the right hire, and that's a job for Indeed and Sponsored Jobs. It's going to help you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for with the skills, the experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate comes across your post. And the minute we've been talking, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Look how fast that is. So if you're hiring, you want to spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Less stress, less time, more results for your company. Cut through the chaos. Listeners of Locked On Guardians get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show so you can hear about this podcast on Indeed. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Join the Everydayer Club now with code MARCH. You get your first month free. If you sign up before the NCAA tournament tips off this Thursday, you can compete against us in our men's and women's brackets and pools on Discord. The winner in each will get $100 in Locked On merch. The rest of us can commiserate in the members-only chats as our brackets all blow up. And as a member of the club, you get the ad-free version of the show. And again, it's all free for a month with code MARCH at LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com. I just wanted to make one more comment, too, on thinking about, like, depth. Like, think about, like, Hae-Sung Kim. Like, that was a guy the Dodgers spent how much money on? And he's basically, like, a triple-A-er for them now. Like,
yeah,
there's not a lot of teams that could afford to like spend that money on a free agent. This is why
Michael Conforto
signed, Michael Conforto wasn't on the World Series roster last year. Like that's why with the Guardians, like when you pay for certain free agents, that's why like Josh Bell and Mike Zunino and all these guys, they get so much runway because it's like you can't afford to not have them in the lineup. Like you're spending that cash on them. So it is a lot different. Like it's not just about the top end dollar; it's about depth. So that's a great point, I think. So we'll see what happens this year. I do think they have some depth, but it's like I said, the level of the ceiling goes down with each guy you have to drop down to. Let's talk about the World Baseball Classic, Jeff, a little bit. I know not something you're spending a lot of time on, but I know you are. I know you're very well aware of what Tugboat did this weekend on Friday night. He was able to sit down Nolan Arenado, Bryce Harper, Cal Raleigh. He had a really good night against a very good Team USA lineup. Never got above 90, 91 miles an hour, but he did strike out Bryce Harper at the end of his outing. He was fired up. It was a fun moment to watch him do all that. Like, seeing him, like, you're not like you were talking about before, like, it's better for like guys like Travis Bazzana and whoever else to get back to camp because you're not always going to be facing the best competition out there. But I got to say, like, the thing I said about Bazzana in Japan is he was playing in front of a huge crowd, which you can't get in the U.S., which was good. Even the competition wasn't good. Tugboat, though, in spring training and even AA Akron, where he'll be this year, you're not going to face Cal Raleigh and Bryce Harper or not Nolan Arenado. That was Dylan DeLucia, I think. It was Dylan DeLucia. I'll get to him in a second. But you're not going to face those guys in spring training if you're Tugboat, right? Like, very unlikely. So that's a big moment for him, and for him to come through, like, that's exciting.
It's fun And he has, especially against Harper, it's a big moment. He does have the advantage of being someone that they don't know at all. Like he gets to step out there, and the book on him is so limited that they don't have they don't really have a lot to go with. I know a lot of people are popping off about Tugboat right now and very excited, and I don't want to step on any toes. Listen, I've always been low end on Tugboat. He didn't even enter our discussion for the top 30. No. He wasn't even in the discussion for the top 35 when you really get down to the names and the guys we discussed in there. It's like he's a guy who's in the 40 to 50 range. And this is probably his best outcome is maybe a Loogie-esque reliever. It's just one of the things that is going to stand to watch with him is when he was his first year in low A, when he was a lefty with the stuff he had, he could get a ton of swing and miss outside the zone. Guys expanded, and last year his walk rate just ballooned because guys weren't doing that. And I am kind of curious to see how he goes. He's a fun pitcher. There's a lot of fun things going on with him. It was a great performance. I agree with you. This is exactly what is the fun part of the WBC is seeing a guy like that come out and do this. He's always going to be a cult-like figure because of who he is and his build body and everything type. Else, the body type and the nickname. So, kudos to him, credit to him. It doesn't do anything to change my view on him overall, just because you don't see a lot of guys who survive for any period of time with a fastball that low.
No, I mean, I think there's some chance that he ends up like a left-handed Eli Morgan, where he becomes like
agreed,
a fifth or sixth inning guy who could throw strikes, is deceptive. His fastball definitely it's light velocity wise, but it has some deception and carry to it, so that really helps him out a little bit. And if he has enough command, I think he, like you said, the loogies don't exist anymore just because you have the 3 batter minimum, but you can use him and finagle him into a way that works and just get some he's never going to be a high leverage guy. Let's say that for sure. He's always going to be a low leverage reliever. That's not a bad thing. No. Guys make good careers out of that for a long time. Look at Pedro Avila's moved around, and a bunch of guys that make careers out of that. Dylan DeLucia, also another minor leaguer, had himself a heck of a weekend for Team Italy, who's moving on. Can't believe that. I had Italy making it out of the pool they were in, but I didn't have them winning their quarterfinal game. So congrats to Italy, and all those espresso shots are doing their thing. I might have to get myself an espresso machine. That might be the biggest thing they've done in this World Baseball Classic is promote espresso. But Dylan DeLucia pitched 4 scoreless innings against Team Puerto Rico, which also, again, had some major leaguers in that lineup. I mean, he got, like I said, Eddie Rosario, Nolan Arenado, a bunch of guys he got out in that lineup. That was good for him. He's the guy who, for sure, I think, is a more likely path reliever. A guy who he topped out at 93, but he got 18 inches of vertical break on his fastball, induced vertical break. So that helped him out a ton. The sweeper was good for him. So he showed that, in that stint, he can work. So I'm really impressed to see him pitching in a huge game like that. The bulk of the innings against a team that was, not as good as it could have been. Puerto Rico's missing a lot of good players, but still a very good, talented. He faced major league hitters, and again, that's not experience he was going to get out in Arizona. And the stakes being higher too, I think, helped too.
Yeah, and we had him as a top 30 prospect. I don't remember if he fell out when we did some of our adjustments. So it's this is what we saw with him, is kind of that potential with the fastball slider combo. And, he's been a big game pitcher in the past. We know that. He was integral to, I'm going to get it wrong. If someone's Old Miss, I want to say. Hopefully I didn't get it wrong, or else people will be mad. And their College World Series championship, he was a big part of that. He's not the biggest guy, but that fastball slider combo, I really think, is going to give him a really strong chance to be a major league reliever. And, that's why I have a little more. That's why we discussed him. That's why he was a guy who, like I said, at one point wasn't our top 30. I don't know if he ended up there in the end. I can't remember the top of my head.
Yeah, I think he dropped out at the end just because there were a couple guys we hadn't discussed. If you are an insider or an everydayer, I did post that sheet for all of the prospects. We also did some sorting and some averaging, so you can see how Jeff and I's prospect rankings for the Guardians this year stack up against all the big outlets. You can see what the aggregate is for all of them. It's sortable, so you can find that. I texted to everybody. I put it in the Discord, so let me know if you need to find that. Bo Naylor hit a big home run for Team Canada. That was good to see. Bo Naylor had a really good offensive campaign in the World Baseball Classic, so that's good. He'll be back in camp, I think, coming early this week, so that's fun. to see him on the big stage hit a home run. Even though Team Canada bowed out. Matt Festa for Team Italy was not good. That's a little bit of a concern with the Gaddis injury, and he's just not looked good this entire spring. I can't believe Dylan DeLucia outpitched him, but here we are. And then, hey, Brian Rocchio off to join Team Italy for the semifinal game against Venezuela. Good luck. And, hey, Brian Rocchio has a great track record of international play, so that'll be a good experience for him. It's to me, Rocchio is what I saw people saying all over social media, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that one. I just didn't know that he would qualify, or that, because again, I don't pay attention to the World Baseball Classic in general, so I just didn't know. I know guys leave the team, so it makes sense guys could be added, but I was like, oh, okay, so he's going to go out there and
Dylan DeLucia's
join him,
gone.
and
He can't pitch again.
Yeah,
so Dylan DeLucia left Team Italy. He might stay with them, but he can't pitch again. He's off the roster.
Yeah,
because of pitch limits and days on the calendar. All right, the Spring Breakout game is also coming this week. Lots more prospect content to talk about, and we got a glimpse of one of those prospects in a game for the first time. More of that coming up. The madness is here, baby. It's nonstop in college basketball. We got big games coming up, tight spreads, momentum swings every single day and night. We're going to have early tip-offs, late West Coast shootouts, always going to be action on the board. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with a college basketball parlay profit boost. If you listen to me, told you to take Akron. I know they're the favorites to win the MAC. They did it. The line wasn't all that good, but you have a chance to make that back. There's a chance they could upset in the first round, I think. I think there's a really good chance that they can do that against Texas Tech. 12-5 is a pretty common upset. I'll have to look at the official spread there. But you can go safe. You can go bold. You can ride with a team you've been following all season. For me, that's Akron right here. And it's your parlay, your style with now upside behind it. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Play your game on FanDuel. The countdown is on. It's tax time, and for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes, that's a lot, right? Trying to book an appointment, it's not the most convenient for you. You're going to want to sit in the waiting room with your stack of papers, emailing, wondering if the person doing your taxes really gets the situation of your taxes. This year, you're getting a major upgrade from Intuit TurboTax because they now have locations in person nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with the real tax expert. More, you can't do that every day with a lot of places anymore. Your documents are uploaded to your straight TurboTax app on the spot. And then just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get your dollars that you deserve while you get real-time notifications so you can go on about your day. It's the relief of walking in, meeting a real person, walking out, knowing your taxes are handled the way you need them to be. So head on over to TurboTax.com/local, find a store near you, and book your appointment with a TurboTax expert locally today. Keep up to date with the Guardians every single day here on Locked On Guardians. Hit the bell on YouTube so you get notified of when our episodes go live, whenever we record reaction videos to news, games, anything else that's going on during the World Baseball Classic, maybe, prospect stuff, all that kind of stuff. You can make sure you get that on YouTube by hitting the bell, and then auto-download on all your favorite audio platforms as well. We're free everywhere. And, hey, tell a friend if they're all season and want to get their fix. We are going to be here every single day talking Guardians baseball. You can also join the Insiders Club, where we text the community daily, drop news, we do mailbag questions, and then we do monthly video chats. So that is join subtext.com/LockedOnGuardians to tap in over there. All right, Jeff, one of the most divisive prospects, I guess, at least from our standpoint, Jace Lavalette. James Harris had a lot of good things to say about him on Friday from Guardians camp. He was in a game on Saturday for the Guardians for the first time. That was the first public game that was official, or not really official with spring training, but at least the one we could see in a box score that he appeared in. And James Harris said on Friday that Jace Lavalette is the fastest player in camp besides Stuart Fairchild. I didn't realize how fast he was. And then again, I assume he's not making that up, but he's a big guy. So for him to run that fast, I think the question is, speed wise, if he really is that fast, could give him a chance to play center field. I know you haven't thought that was the case, but I don't know. Hearing him say he's that fast, like I'm wondering.
Like he's a good athlete, but I've never heard the report of his speed as like that fast. Like that's just one of those things where I'm like, how many positive things can we say about someone? Like most places don't even have him as a plus runner. So that was just a weird statement to me. Like I don't think I saw anyone give him a plus grade in the draft process. So either that means this team is super slow or he is just a little bit overexcited with some of his words. Like he didn't have a single 60 from anyone I follow, track, or listen to. Maybe one. I shouldn't say that. I can always get things wrong, but I just don't quite understand that line. I'm not saying he's a great athlete. He really is, but that was just kind of a weird random statement. Like I feel like Khalil Watson isn't in camp anymore, I guess. Is that why like he doesn't count? Like is it just I guess the roster
No.
with the way it's set
meant
up.
like he meant in general. He just meant in general.
No, like Watson would definitely blow him away a race. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah. Maybe he does mean minor league camp. But no, I mean Jace isn't in major league camp either. Stuart Fairchild is, but I think he was just talking about everybody in general. I mean, I guess Watson's probably faster. I'm trying to think of anybody else that would be like Angel Henao is really fast. Jose
I
Devers
bet
runs
Angel.
well.
It's like I would bet there's a chance Nick Mitchell would outrun him. Aaron Walton better outrun him with the way you drafted him, with his main trait being speed. Petey Halpin, I bet would outrun him. Like it's just a weird statement because it's kind of like Alfonso Rosario might outrun him. Like it's just like I know we're nitpicking, people, you're just haters, but it just. Did they feel like they had to over exaggerate skills so much they came out with that
I don't know. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Joe Lampe considered like a really fast runner out of college?
Like pretty good. He was kind of Kwani-esque like back in the day. Like if I can, it's like he was above average, maybe to plus. I could be wrong, but it was more like his ability as a hit tool and play the field and do all that stuff. But they kind of forgot that you just don't draft guys from Arizona or Arizona State because they get terribly inflated by playing in that environment, and have had some real struggles in transitioning. A lot of really average guys like Kevin Newman and Scott Kingery have looked like stars coming out of those programs.
Yeah. So he's going to be in the spring breakout game. I'm pretty sure he'll be in the lineup. Now they had that giant player pool because it's a 40-man pool and everybody who's on the MLB Pipeline top 30 is listed, but that doesn't mean they'll all be in there. I hope Daniel Espino's in there again. I talked about this the other week about
they have to cut it down to I think 28 max is what they can have in the
they have to get it down to 28, and that's coming up on Thursday. It'll be 23 at 20. I'm sorry, 27. It's 27. Yeah. Is what it goes down to. So that's on Thursday, and that is on MLB's stream. So you can go online and watch that at MLB. They'll have it on the app. They'll have it online. So you can get all those. That's 4:10 Eastern against the Angels. It's a weird time, but it's going to be really a pain too because you got the NCAA tournament at the same time. Plus that I'm kind of frustrated with the timing of that, but it is what it is. Anybody you're really excited to see in that game, Jeff? Like who would you start? Like I gave my lineup and who I thought should start the game. I was hoping that Daniel Espino would get the start because that would just be fun to see him throw the inning, right? But who are you hoping to see in this game? Like who are you most excited about? I want to see Lavalette for more than one at bat for sure.
If I'm going through and just kind of looking at things, I don't know who's going to make the team. For me, the most exciting ones are the ones I haven't gotten to see at all. Those are the players like, Franklin Gomez is exciting, even though he's not, Daniel Espino by any means. But it's I really haven't seen him outside of some clips here and there. And is there that big of a difference between watching a clip and watching him live? Not really, but it's just fun to be able to watch it. I got to see a little bit of Oki, but seeing more of Oki would be fun. Some of those guys that maybe haven't had the reps, seeing, Junior Caceres face higher level competition. For me, it's kind of those more down the line players I'm most intrigued to see in this game. Than some of the other guys that could be there potentially. So I'm just very. It's going to be fun. I'm hoping, just to pull back the curtain here, I'm solo parenting for most of this week. So I'm kind of hoping it's a situation where I can go back and watch the game later on once the kids are in bed. I'm hoping they'll cash it. They normally do for most games. So I'm hoping to be able to catch it later and see some of the fun with this, because that's exactly what it is. It's a fun situation, and it's a great way to show off some of the hopeful stars of tomorrow.
Showcasing? Is that what you're saying? Showcasing?
Yeah, your favorite word. You hey, I avoided it. You're the one who brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see Cal Steven too. That would be interesting if Cal Steven's in the game. James Harris spent some time talking about him over the weekend as well, so that's a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's one spring game that we can actually get Jeff excited about.
I mean, excited might be relative. It's fun to watch.
Man. All right. Well, Jeff keeps low blood pressure. Good for him. Didn't really have time to discuss this, but I thought it was interesting to say that Parker Messick and Logan Allen continue to stay on the same day rotation-wise. Logan Allen made his first start over the weekend after coming back from the World Baseball Classic. And they had Parker Messick pitch in a minor league game, so those two would stay on the same day. So that at least gives credence to the, well, I guess technically they're still considering what might happen with that fifth spot. I don't know, like they're keeping on the same day. So that says something, I think. If they weren't thinking about it as much about what might happen, I think they would have said, it doesn't matter. Let's just get him a major league start. They put Messick in a minor. I mean, Messick was the one who got the minor league start, so I guess there's that component of it. But it's interesting they're staying on the same day at the very least. I'm not going to read too much into it, but
very fair.
Yeah, I think there's something into it, right? There's something to it.
No, I mean, as you said, like the fact they're still lined up kind of does speak to some degree of volumes. Who knows what the real opportunity is, or if it was just maybe you and I are overreading the tea leaves on a situation that doesn't require it. But I agree. I see what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And like Messick's also on the spring breakout roster. I'm like, there's no reason for him to go over there because he pitched in it last year, saying like, why? I think it was David, one of our everydayers, insiders, who was like, is he just going to show up and like show everybody his championship or not championship, but his division title swag? Like, is he going to show up in his shirt that says 2025 division champs and be like, hey guys, like I was here last year too, and I was on the division title team last year.
The one thing I'll say, Freddie, the one thing I'll just throw out there is for anyone who's like, why is he there? It's because he had to be. Any top 30 prospect had to be on the initial list. That's why, Walters and him, who probably will not be there, will be in the second cut down. But the initial list had to have everybody who was on MLB's top 30. So just in case anyone at home was curious.
Yeah, Walters definitely will not be pitching because he hasn't even started to throw live BP yet. That's not going to happen for a few more weeks. So Walters isn't even like ready to pitch in a game at this point. But everybody else will be. So yeah, there's no reason for Messick to be there.
No DeLauter on that roster in the end, I bet either. It's like you can go through and pick off a lot of the guys.
You think?
Yeah. I know it's a radical opinion, but I no Chase DeLauter and meaningless.
I would say you're right. It makes more sense for DeLauter to be focusing on the big league.
Yeah, the roster.
Things,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, but Espino, he's in minor league camp, so he got re-signed.
No, he makes perfect sense.
It'd be cool for. Yeah, I hope it happens. So we'll see. Well, that'll come out this week. Insiders and everydayers. Again, we did our top 30 prospect rankings. Those are now out in sheet form, so you can check those out in the Excel docs. And that's got the average of Jeff and I's rankings and the show rankings versus the rest of the big outlets. And you can sort through that table to see who we're higher on, who we're lower on. And we also I did one for the averaging out of the top 100 as well. So you can check that out. Let me know if you need a link, if you're an insider and everydayer. We are back tomorrow. Jeff, what do you think tomorrow? Our 4th annual prospect draft. I think that's a good time for it tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I've got a full snow day tomorrow to go over my data and see how it goes.
We'll have to great.
Decide on the snake format.
Study than me.
Yeah. All right, I'll say this. So in the comments, do you want us to make it snake or not snake? That is our biggest debate every year. So I say we leave it to the listeners. Comments. Do we do a snake format? Do we do a modified snake? Give us some ideas, some comments. How should we handle the draft?
All right. Well, answer that. Study up. You can draft along with us tomorrow. And thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Guardians to get all the latest episodes. If you ever miss an episode, the Everydayer Club build for you. Ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians, members only Discord access. Head to LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com to join the club.
Thank you for joining us, and go Guardians.